So the Los Angeles Lakers have gotten so much better over the past couple of days, adding multiple players that kind of fit multiple different roles. The Lakers are obviously trying to get better. They're trying to get to a point where they can compete for a championship this season. And there's a guy that the Lakers added in Eric Dixon, who I think is a phenomenal basketball player. And I think the Lakers got themselves an absolute steal here. And I want to talk about what Dixon kind of brings to the Lakers. Just talk a little bit about this guy's tape. Some of what I saw with him while I was analyzing this guy's tape. Plus, there's a couple other things that have come out that I think are very, very, very pivotal for the Lakers to kind of figure out. Let's get right into this, man. So Dixon, to me, is one of those guys that, the tape speaks for itself, right? When you put this guy's tape on, you can right away see that this guy's a physical basketball player. And I know a lot of people are going to talk about the scoring first and foremost, which we will talk about. But the physicality right away sticks out on tape. The little things that this guy does reminds me of someone like Draymond Green, where, he's physical with people, he's pushing guys around, and he's built well, so he can kind of handle that, and he can push people. And I think for the Lakers, not that that's going to be the one thing that this guy's going to bring to the Lakers, right? Obviously, the Lakers brought him in mostly due to the scoring, but this guy's a power forward, and the power aspect of it is 100% there. The guy's physical. I think there were moments on tape where I felt like he was bullying people. He was kind of pushing people around. To me, this is a guy that has a ton of upside just because of the fact that he'll actually get to play for the Lakers at some point. Now, it is a two-way contract, so he will not be fully on the roster, and he'll obviously split time between the G League and the actual standard roster, and he will have that limitation as well. So we'll see if at any point if the Lakers end up converting that two-way contract to a standard contract. They had a couple players last year that they had to kind of make that same decision for. I think Eric Dixon's a guy that is, he might end up getting converted to a standard contract. Honestly, probably sooner rather than later. But right away, one of the things you're going to notice with this guy's tape is just that thick frame that he has. Right, 6'8", 265 pounds. You don't generally get guys that are built like this guy. But again, it's not just the physicality and that bully mindset that this guy shows me. Truth be told, the scoring is absolutely elite. 265 pounds, 6'8", power forward, and he led the NCAA in scoring. When the draft was happening, Eric Dixon was the guy that I was hoping that the Lakers could potentially draft with the initial pick before they ended up jumping up twice. Dixon was the guy that I had on my radar for the Lakers. And as the draft started kind of coming to an end, I said, damn, if Eric Dixon ends up not being drafted, which again is surprising to me, I was hoping that the Lakers were able to potentially bring him in. And obviously he ended up signing with the Lakers, which is really, really, really solid for Rob Pelinka. I think it's a phenomenal pickup. And Pelinka's had success with guys, right, in the second round or later in the past. So I think Eric Dixon's going to be one of those guys that definitely will be a solid pickup. Now, let's talk about this guy's scoring. So right away, watching his tape, the guy's an elite scorer. He could pretty much score from anywhere on the court. He's a very solid three-point shooter. Again, 6'8", solid three-point shooter. Can also score off of like pick and pop situations. There was multiple times last year for Villanova where he had the ball, and it was a play specifically that they run. I don't know the exact play call, but essentially he would throw the ball out there to the center or to a forward, to the small forward, and he essentially just loop around this guy to catch and he'd shoot. And they ran this play a lot. It was one of the plays that I kept seeing. I watched like 4 or 5 of this guy's games from this past season. Multiple times this guy was able to get the ball, score. Solid jump shooter, can spot up obviously and shoot, can come around, can create his own shot as well. Now the one thing with a guy like Eric Dixon that we do have to also realize is, offensively he can score. He's very, very physical. He's strong. He also is a really underrated hustle player as well. And I think that's going to be the one element of Dixon where if he hustles the way he showed at times at Villanova, if he does that 100% of the time for the Lakers, the guy's going to play. But we do also have to realize that even though he hustles, he does struggle a little bit on the defensive side. And I think that's going to be the one thing where, he's not overly athletic and he's not great on the defensive side. But if you hustle enough, you can get better. And if you get coached right, if you get coached well and you put that effort in, you can definitely get better. And also understand, at Villanova, this guy was a scorer, right? He was an offensive guy. It's kind of like Luka Doncic right now with the Lakers, and just generally speaking. Luka's not the type of guy that is going to go out there and, hey, I'm going to be a shutdown defender. That's not his game, right? He comes to the Lakers. He's a scorer first and foremost. He's a facilitator. He's going to make that offense work, and he's going to be the fifth option on the defensive side. That was kind of the same thing with Eric Dixon as well at Villanova. And that's one of the things we have to understand with the Lakers. It's going to be different. His role with the Lakers is not, hey, I'm going to be scoring first and foremost for the Lakers. Instead, it'll be, I'll be playing off of Luka and Reeves, who will have the ball. I'll be playing off of those guys. I'll spot up. I'll wait, let those guys kind of, run their pick and roll situations with, maybe it's Jackson Hayes or someone else. And I'll be just standing in the corner and I'll rotate the way I'm supposed to. And if they pass me the ball, I hit that 3-point shot. Eric Dixon is not going to come to the Lakers and have to be the number one option the way he was at Villanova. And again, just kind of tying it to Luka, while he's at Villanova, he didn't necessarily play defense as much, or the effort wasn't there as much on the defensive side. And again, I think that's just partly because of the role he was playing in. And again, with the Lakers, I think that'll be completely different. To me, Eric Dixon's going to come in and he's going to have to play defense, and we'll see if he can actually play defense. It's not like he can't necessarily stay in front of guys. I will say he was not lazy. Lazy is not the right word, but sometimes you can tell, maybe he's tired, maybe he's focused on scoring, or maybe he's focused on something else as opposed to sticking to his guy, and his guy was able to slip past him. So those little things that he'll have to kind of clean up as he kind of goes forward. People talk about his max vertical. I think it was like 32.5. So that's also going to limit his ability to play defense underneath the rim, right? Eric Dixon is not going to be a guy that's going to defend the rim. And again, Lakers still have to figure out that center position, which we'll talk about here in a second. He's not great when it comes to rebounding either. And although Eric Dixon can score with the ball in his hands, he hasn't shown to be a great passer and, great in terms of generating assists and offense for other guys, right? He's a guy that scores offense by himself, right? But I do think he can pass the ball pretty well. So we'll see how it translates. Again, I'm very, very, very excited for Eric Dixon. I think this guy's going to end up being a good basketball player for the Lakers, or even the best player out of this pool of players that the Lakers brought in. And I know they brought in Adio Thero at Arkansas, 36 overall pick, but I also think this guy has just something different to his tape, right? So we'll see what ends up happening. He's a guy that I'm very, very, very excited about, and I want to know what you guys think about this guy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Dixon. Again, he led the NCAA in scoring, 23.3 points per game. Let's switch focus. There's a couple other things that I want to just talk about, just kind of bring and update you guys on. One was that there was a huge report that came out earlier today. This was by ESPN Insider. Everybody knows Dave McMeeman. This guy basically put it out there that the Los Angeles Lakers superstar LeBron James is apparently expected to forego a pay cut and pick up his $53 million player option with the Lakers. And this right here, it's not, they're not saying that it's 100% confirmed, but this is what LeBron James is kind of leaning towards. And again, it's not confirmed, right? So let's just put that out there first and foremost. It's not saying that LeBron James will 100% pick that option up, and he 100% will not take a pay cut. We don't really know what LeBron James is going to do, but let's just make the assumption that LeBron James is going to actually go ahead and take that $53 million player option. To me, I think it would be a massive mistake for LeBron James, specifically because if LeBron James's goal is, hey, I want to win a championship, I want to have success with the Lakers, and I want to try to win before I retire at least one more, taking that $53 million player option is a massive, massive, massive. It's essentially going to hinder the Los Angeles Lakers in kind of what they can do. LeBron James, I have my opinion, and I know some people are going to disagree with this. I don't even think he's worth $53 million anymore at this point. And I say that not because he's a great basketball player, and he is great and he can be great, but the effort, any given night is not always necessarily there. And if you're being 100% honest, LeBron James is not the player he was 8 years ago. The effort lacks from LeBron James. And that's just me being 100% honest. And again, I know some people are going to disagree because I've stated this in the past and people definitely disagreed with it. But LeBron James is not worth $53 million at this point. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad basketball player or he isn't still great when he wants to be, because he is. But what I'm saying is, at this point, $53 million for LeBron James, where we know he's going to sit out some games this year. We also know, when the playoffs come around, is he going to be able to play a 7-game series in, 3 straight rounds, right? Like, will he have that type of energy, and will he have that type of stamina? How will his recovery be? It's something that we have to be honest about, because this past season, we saw LeBron James, in games lack, right? Like, it's just what it is. I believe it was the 5th game where LeBron James didn't score, was in the second half or in the 4th quarter. LeBron James has struggled at times this season. And again, $53 million to me does hinder the Lakers. And if this guy wants to win another ring, I think the best thing he can do is take a pay cut. If you guys look at the Los Angeles Lakers salary cap, there's not a lot of flexibility here, right? Even the second apron, I don't think this is updated, but they're going to have a hard cap on that because of the trade that they ultimately made, right? They gave some cash up when they went from the initial draft pick, jumped up to, I think it was to like the 45th pick, before they jumped up to the 36th pick, right? So they're going to be hindered a little bit this year. And I don't really see a lot of what the Lakers are going to do with some of the upcoming contracts. Right. Yes, there's ways to get out of some of these, right? Some people think Dorian Finney-Smith might actually opt out of his player option. I find it hard to believe he's going to 100% opt out. $15.3 million. There is a deadline coming up on Sunday where if another team wants to bring in Dorian Finney-Smith, it would be wise to essentially do it before Sunday, right? There's a deadline coming up, which does make it a little bit tougher with his contract right now. But I don't think Dorian Finney-Smith is going to opt out. I think he'll end up sticking with the Lakers for another year. I think it just kind of makes sense. But again, just kind of getting back to the cap space, the Lakers don't have a lot of what they can do with this cap space, right? They'll have to get creative. They'll have to kind of figure it out. But if LeBron James is making $53 million, you look at some of the other guys in the NBA right now that are highly paid. And I say this because these other guys, of course, guys like Paul George might be overpaid, but like some other guys, Jokic, $55 million. LeBron James is not bringing that type of skill set to the Lakers anymore, right? And again, I think for the Lakers as we go forward, let's not pay for past production. Let's pay for what we can expect out of a guy going forward. Another thing I'm going to just throw out there, if LeBron James does decide that I'm going to stick with this player option, I think he won't be back with the Lakers after this season. If he wants to continue to play, which is another report that did come out, I don't think it'll be with the Lakers. I think, there's just no way if this guy picks up this $53 million contract, they're going to roll forward with LeBron. And I say that because Rob Pelinka is 100% bought in to win championships and really take advantage of Luka Doncic and the, essential prime that this guy's in, right? So we'll see what ends up happening, but this was an interesting report that did come out. And then finally, just kind of wrapping it up, there's a report that Dorian Finney-Smith is drawing considerable interest around the NBA. The Lakers could be in for a bit of a bidding war this summer as Dorian Finney-Smith is reportedly drawing lots of attention heading into free agency. So obviously, Dorian Finney-Smith does have the player option with the Lakers, but the report that's coming out here is basically saying there's multiple teams that are interested in this guy. And if that is true that there are multiple teams interested in Finney-Smith, I guess he could technically opt out if the market is there for him. But I think for the Lakers, it would also be wise to try to trade him. And I know his value might not be high given the fact that he's going to become a free agent anyways here in a year. But if you're a team that Dorian Finney-Smith might not have you on the radar, it's like, this is my number one team that I want to kind of go to. If you're one of those teams, why not trade for Dorian Finney-Smith? If you get the okay from him that, hey, I will lock in with you guys, why not try to go down that route if you're one of these teams? And the best way to do that is essentially to trade for this guy. And just to take a step back, the Lakers obviously have not made any moves for a center. And I think, the fact that teams are interested in Dorian Finney-Smith, Dalton Knecht, right? At some point, the Los Angeles Lakers had a trade for Mark Williams, right? Where Dalton Knecht was involved. I think Knecht still has a ton of potential. He has a ton of value as well. And there's other guys on this roster that have value as well, right? Austin Reeves has a ton of value. Gabe Vincent has value. Jared Vanderbilt has value as well, right? You know, I think the Lakers are at this point where they have so many guys that are tradable that they have to 100% consider getting a center. And there's multiple guys that are still technically available, right? Nick Claxton is a guy that's technically available. Some people think the Lakers are still interested in potentially bringing him in. There's guys like Robert Williams, who's another interesting name that was kind of thrown out there recently. DeAndre Ayton, some people think the Lakers could actually bring him in. But of course, we know the one guy the Lakers are very, very interested in is Walker Kessler. Something tells me that the Walker Kessler to the Lakers will end up happening. I don't know why, but the fact that the Lakers didn't really bring in a big man, a true center, a guy that can defend the rim, a guy that can run those pick and roll and be a real lob threat. To me, the fact that the Lakers did not actually go down that route through the draft at least tells me that they have something in the works. And I also understand Rob Pelinka doesn't want to overpay for anybody. And the report right now is that for a guy like Walker Kessler, they're asking for a ton of value back, right? And maybe the Lakers just don't want to give up as much as they're ultimately asking for. But something tells me the Lakers will still end up bringing in a guy like Kessler. They'll be able to make that happen at some point. Maybe it'll be a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith that's packaged up. Maybe it'll be Dalton, Knecht, potentially some first-round picks as well. Either way, man, I am very, very excited for the Los Angeles Lakers in the direction that these guys are kind of on. I think some of what Rob Pelinka's done this offseason from the draft and the UDFA pool, I think has been phenomenal. And I think the Lakers definitely did get better. They have a ton of young talent with a ton of upside. And I will always say this, although a guy like Eric Dixon and Austin Reeves might not be like the number one players that win you a championship, around the NBA, there's always players that are UDFAs or second round picks that are ultimately going to be key parts of a championship roster. Austin Reeves is an example of a guy that was in UDFA. He could be the second or third guy on a championship roster. You look at a guy like Draymond Green, another guy, second round pick, was another guy that was a key part of that Golden State Warriors run. And the list just goes on and on and on about guys that were not necessarily first round picks or top 10 picks that ended up being very, very good, productive role players. So, to me, these guys that the Lakers brought in, I'm very excited about them. Dixon, obviously feel very strongly about him. Let me know what you guys think, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Some of you guys are going to disagree with my LeBron James take. I understand it, but do understand it is my opinion that I have. So let me know what you guys think about that, plus some of what we talked about. Drop a comment down in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time with another video.